Дай. Так, как это? У нас там такой. Где моя банка большая? Ебался непонятно. Блядь, пидорасы со всех сторон, нахуй. Вы чё, без сговорились там, блядь? Понять не могу, блядь. Блядь.
Таков путь.
Золотой автомат, дружище. И за пиццу, кстати, тоже. Это происходит, я, блядь, не бывает. Что вы такие жесткие, блядь? Блядь. До свидос, блядь. Да, блядь, ну что такое-то? Сколько ты там жизни, блядь, бред какой-то. Да, пиздец. Засранец, а? Сколько таких тупых смертей будет, пиздец. В самом начале катки, блядь. Пиздец. выстрел-то был? Нахуй, домой, нахуй, тварь ебаная, блядь. Двадцать два, наконец. Кто? Джон Уик решает.
Inside you continue to fight. You're adorable. So adorable. Oh, so adorable. So adorable. There's nothing in this world to save. Don't try, I own your fight with seven. Your peace with all you have known. Your time with us was only on loan. Oh no. inside you continue to fight. You're adorable. So adorable. Oh, so adorable. So adorable. There's nothing in this world to save. Don't try, your fight with seven is in vain. All these worlds bow to my reign. Don't make your peace with all you have known. Your time with us was only on loan. Oh no. There's just one thing to realize. This reality is my greatest prize. And everything you ever thought was true was just part of the game I let you view. Don't think me deplorable. I'm doing what's right, yet you fight on despite. You're adorable. It's so horrible. Oh, so adorable. So adorable. You're adorable. So now that you have seen my return and witnessed this reality burn, there's just one thing you should know. Don't you wish you knew the mystery? You're just a player in my show. So play and everything you ever thought was true was just part of the play I made for you. Isn't it horrible? My prize is inside you continue to fight. You're adorable. So adorable. Oh, so adorable. So adorable. There's nothing in this world to save. Don't try, your fight with seven is in vain. All these worlds bow to my reign. Don't make your peace with all you have known. Your time with us was only on loan. Oh no. There's just one thing to realize. This reality is my greatest prize. And everything you ever thought was true was just part of the game I let you view. Don't think me deplorable. I'm doing what's right, yet you fight on despite. You're adorable. It's so horrible. Oh, so adorable. So adorable. You're adorable. So adorable.
происходит. Да, по красоте.
Best players in the region, but the problem is with these guys is that they have Fortnite mastered, right? When it comes to the fundamentals of the game, they have that down to a T, and then when it comes to just being able to adapt to new metas, it's like this for them, man. It gets so easy. Anytime we're having a conversation about who are the best players in the game, their names will always come up. They've done really well in previous competitions, you know, running up to this one in the past week or so, and so I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to be able to come out when the pressure is highest, when players around them are all wobbly and shaky, and really step up.
Absolutely, and we've been watching teams throughout the whole last 12 months of Fortnite, even past that, even more. Now it's all about teammates, that synergy, just being dynamic and adapting to a lot of things happening. You know, you can get punished a little bit more inside the entire duels format. You're not going to have the extra body to protect yourself when things go wrong or to amplify and capitalize on any plays you want to make. That's a big difference too. But with that being said, games are almost underway in just a second. The big thing too, 50 different entities on the map, so many more things to worry about for a lot of players. A brand new map to Levin entirely. There's so much to expect for this FNCS.
Yeah, look, big adjustments, right? Big adjustments, a whole new map. If you haven't watched any Fortnite for a while, don't worry, we will get you through it, right? Explain everything to you, give you the whole rundown. I think the biggest thing, right, is going into end games, the fundamentals, who actually has those great dynamics. I think that's why Tayson and Thomas will always be big favorites, because the combinations between the two, beautiful, beautiful textbook stuff. And everybody has to try to get to that level or something there and thereabouts. So I'll be real, I'm super excited to see what plays out today.
Yeah, momentum still coming in. Joe and Vino first overall from that previous round. So many different players who just had, you know, maybe different meetings and different types of entire environments around them game to game. Now it's all the same around them game to game. Now it's all the same players in the same game, and that game is about to start. It's game number 1 of EU in the first qual. Almost there in just a second. 6 total as well that'll be there too. I mean, Levin, it's just it's nuts, right? Because when you look at just the entire section of Fortnite when it comes to just elite level lobbies, right, the top 100, 6 games, it feels like a lot. They dwindle down really fast.
Yeah, you know, especially when, you know, considering the fact that we're playing for top 8, you know, you've got to have a couple games. Yeah, maybe you can allow yourself 1 or 2 games where things don't necessarily work out. But for the most part, you have to be on it game to game, and you have to be able to adapt game to game. Of course, right, there are always going to be these small tweaks that you have to make. You can see here on your screen, Tilted Towers, a POI has come back. A couple teams going to be dropping there, right? How do you go game to game in terms of what areas you claim, how you cut off other teams? There are all these little micro things that will play into how the story develops over the course of 6 games, and ultimately things are in your hand as a player. You know, you can't use things at the end of it and go, oh, I got unlucky here, I got unlucky there. You have to make your own destiny in that sense.
Yeah, and the destiny is formed by relationships, and when you look at relationships between teams, it's my favorite part of the FNCS, the beef level. The beef. I love the off-spawn combat. I love, you know, just the stories throughout the season. I feel like, overall, that's where things are about to get super heated. It's guaranteed to have no problems for your entire game.
Those fights play out will just be
Je sais pas. Non, mais c'est pas ça, c'est juste que moi, genre, j'étais dans un mode. Bon, on a regardé un truc.
between the teams, right? You guys all the teams that are landing favorites today are teams who you could see winning the whole thing today if things to go well.
Absolutely, and there's different tiers before what happens between, you know, a desk towards the game starting. Right now, we'll throw it back to the desk. We got a little bit more to talk about before we get into that first game.
Appreciate you, Shy Wager, and of course, FK. We're about to jump into game 1, but apparently people weren't ready. They just weren't.
Yes, don't.
It's okay.
Attends, et t'as.
Competition, great stuff though, and I do like like these guys are talking about the duos, the strategies, kind of prepare. So, like, let's kind of talk about the new mechanics here as we're kind of warming up the bus. Like, how much of these new mechanics in game you guys think will eventually matter? I think you recently made a video on, like, sliding, for example, right? And you really kind of, like, looked at it at a glance. Like, sliding, okay, it's, like, the same as walking, question mark? But it's not exactly, is it?
No, so sliding is a mechanic that I thought was going to be more utilized, and I think now is still completely underutilized when it comes to fighting specifically. So right now, when you start sliding down, you're going to get increased movement speed. If you slide on flat ground, by the way, no increased movement speed, which is cool. That's the best part of it. Yeah, but at the same time, it's for people off. But what I really was hoping for, though, was that people would end up using it in fights to find people they should face into boxes like that. By the way, if you just slide and shoot a wall at the exact right time, you're going to face straight into that person's box. Not seen it happen yet. If you have a launch pad, slide when you land, straight through someone's wall, you can go straight into the box. If someone does this, by the way, in a tournament, tag me on Twitter, because I've yet to see it in the 2 months the season's been out, and I said it when it came out. I was like, someone do this play, hit off a launch pad, slide, straight into the box, and pick up a leader.
I mean, there's Beast trying to farm Twitter followers again, but let's move on from that. I mean, I think sliding was, I think we all thought it was going to bring up the mechanical level of play even higher. I mean, there's a few people that have been practicing it, Vidil being one of them. He's been in the creative lobby, trying to crank it out. Seti, also one of those guys that been, putting in the hours, as a main block of last videos. Now in Juice as well, he's been putting in the hours.
Vas-y, vas-y. Eh gros, mon vidéo, c'est déjà fait depuis longtemps. Truc sur le livre fini, j'ai déjà tout fini. Même le PM, et moi j'ai une question. Est-ce que le dernier...
With that mechanic now.
I still think yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's still time. That's the key word. But it's like someone's gonna figure it out. Someone will figure out how to use it in fights, how to throw people off. Because like at the start of chapter 1, when people's building editing, like people were being right? We're at that level. And then when the time has passed, people were obviously incredibly proficient at it. And I think sliding's gonna be the same thing. It's a new mechanic. This chapter and this season just starting. Over this chapter, I think we're going to see an evolution that people get extremely proficient with it.
Yeah, I think that especially like kind of you're saying, right, with the chapter 3 season 1 hitting, there's a brand new map where you kind of have to like forget everything from previous like chapter 2, right? You have to just kind of wipe that away from your memory and say like, I have to learn all of these new areas, these new POIs, these new rotational patterns, where people can be, loot chests, like all this new stuff, right? So I think we haven't seen sliding quite yet come online. But I do have faith, right? Like, I do think once one person does it, kind of like to your point, everyone else will see it and go, oh, like, yeah, sorry about that. Like, I was trying to really learn my drop spot and make sure that I didn't lose here, but I'm going to start doing that at my drop spot, and then I definitely won't lose. We'll see. We'll have to see. Now, really quickly, I just want to touch on the prize pool here in Chapter 3, Season 1. Now, remember, this is the prize pool going into the finals, so 2 weeks from now. Take a look at this prize pool out of Europe. $1.3 million, just rounded up to 1.4. NA East, Brazil, NA West, Asia, Middle East, OCE. This is a global competition, boys, and this is a lot of prize money here in Europe.
Yeah, a lot of moolah, a lot of dosh, getting dashed out. Not to remember, this is just specifically for the final. So right now, the top 8 teams that qualify through will get to play for this prize pool in the final. That's what we're looking at once we eventually get these obviously these queuing issues sorted around the game. That is what you're going to be looking at in the leaderboard. The top 8 will get to play for this in 2 weeks' time.
Yep, and that is definitely what you want to do, because the new semi-final system and the heat system is so tough to get through. I mean, that is a lot of money just to be playing for, and you don't want to risk it playing the heat system, because it's a little bit RNG for you, so you got to be careful.
Yeah, placing in that top 8, right? Like, if you can start just this first qualifier and hit that top 8 and just guarantee that you're going to finals, you're at least like locking in some amount of prize money, right? You're going to get some amount for just going to finals, and then you have to start thinking about strategies and how you can aim for that top spot. Now, of course, as I like to talk about a lot, you don't even need to win, right? Just coming in like top 5, you're going to see a massive jump in prize money, and that's going to get you a brand new PC, a brand new car, a brand new chair, lots of brand new things, all the snacks you could ever desire. I mean, there's a lot to play for. Now, guys, I want to toss to this real quick. Let's talk about a brand new POI that came back recently. Was recently defrosted. It's Tilted Towers. Have you guys heard of Tilted Towers, Reese?
Never.
Have you?
Never. This is a new POI to me. I've never heard of this place. Sick POI, honestly. Like center map, it has I think the highest amount of chests total, so 57 chests in here, 198 floor spawns, tons of slurp barrels. Basically, it's everything you need. One of the most important parts of it is there's 20 safes, which is kind of crazy. But I mean, most of the time there's not as big of a utilization for gold unless you're going to greasy. But 32 produce boxes. This is what's really important. So you can always get a ton of peppers because there's just so much loot. Like teams are usually able to split this pretty well. Like we're seeing Kinzel and Siptos go here alongside Benji and Mr. Savage, who unfortunately haven't managed to make it here today. So we'll have to see who ends up qualifying through. From just quickly looking at the map, it seems to be Resac Liam, which obviously I'm a big fan of. Appears to be going there when I look at the drop map. So great POI.
I mean, it's a little bit of a tough spot, though, to play at, especially when you have this many people landing in there. I mean, it's so open. You're sort of dived in within that spot. It's a big horde. It's basically very similar to Daily Bugle, I would say. There's a lot of POIs nearby. There's people that can third-party it for free, and you just got to be a little bit careful. So I'm expecting a lot of these guys to be splitting tilted a lot of the time. You have so much loot, like Reese mentioned, that you don't need to be fighting. I mean, that's what I'm saying every single time. Everyone should just split the spot. We should have 99 people search, 100 people search, and then my house will be happy.
I mean, that would be cool. That would be sick. But I think you nailed on a really important point there was the fact that people can rotate in early, right? There's like the loot lake up above it, which has a ton of teams land there. Right now,
Yeah.
it seems like we've got 3 teams, and there's the 7 outpost that's up to the northeast that has the rifts in it. I think Sten and Raid are landing there. So if they're smart, they can loot that quickly. They can rotate through to the hills that are on the outside and just get some really easy sturge tags. Just bang, bang, bang on all the players. So 3 teams are due to be landing in Tilted right now.
Yeah, super enticing POI. I just avoid it, man. For me, it's too high skill. I will just absolutely get bodied. It's not even competition. I'm using walking 50 pot. I just don't even go there. I do like the big change that we have seen in Chapter 3 Season 1 is that there's a lot more maps available, right? We kind of saw this in Chapter 2. A lot more trios at that time felt like they had to go to the same POI. They really wanted to secure a proper split. They had to kind of make these higher risk, high reward plays, but with this new map, it's way more open. There's a lot of these little houses, these little loot paths all around the map where you can just land and you can just say like, okay, I know this, like this is us right here. And at minimum, I know I can open a handful of chests and then we can start kind of coming up with a plan with what's next. Is there any that you guys have that are like, you think might be slept on? Maybe you're like, yo, this one place is real good.
I mean, obviously, firstly, the Cami split that we mentioned earlier,
Sure.
Picard, in the puddle pond right in the center of the map. That spot is absolutely fantastic. Funnily enough, it's difficult to name exactly where these are because they're split, right? They cover such a huge amount of area. But one team who's been doing really well in a split is Lucian. He's been doing really well in the 7 outpost. It's just southwest of Greasy Grove. He managed, I think, it was like 3rd or 4th in the previous round, just doing super well out of there. Praise team's actually contesting them right now. So these kind of 7 outposts that have the rifts, that have the vault, if you can manage to get a couple other chests from some of the surrounding areas, you can definitely get yourself a good enough loot pool. Usually you'll need around like 7 chests per person, and you can definitely manage to do that in a ton of the looting path, mainly because it's true, essentially just because of the map itself as well.
Yeah, I think the one that I think is slept on a lot is Jones's. I mean, there's not that many good teams that land there, but there are a decent amount of cooler boxes that you do have those. You know, it's pretty small loot. You know, you have a very quick area to rotate past. You can loot it very, very quickly, rotate away for it. You can even get a piece of the south side near Condo Canyon. There's so much potential there for activity. But, you know, you have Kiko and Marsh right there again, Mixon and Rakshus in this final. So it's going to be spicy, but I think Kiko and Marsh, they've been doing super, super well. You know, the guy from Portugal, very, very underrated. They've been slept on. I'm expecting them to do well at spawn. I have not seen them lose a spawn fight yet. Maybe I jinxed them.
Maybe, yeah, the caster curse is very real.
I'm new to this, sorry.
It happens. Guys, super quick, what I want to talk about now is like this trio to now duo. Like for me, I like to try and think about this in like the terms of like everyone kind of sharing power, right? Like in our situation, there's 3 of us, so if we engage in trios, if I was to be eliminated, we still have like 66% of our power, right? In Reese and in Boop.
I mean, with us, it would probably be like 95.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
It's all in Boop. He's got all the power. But when you're looking at like a duo, right, if one of your duos does fall, that's 50% of your power now gone. And then you're stuck in this 1v situation while also trying to like maintain your down friend, right? If they've not full confirmed him, they're still down but not out, and they're kind of crawling around, and then they're kind of putting you in a position where you're like, okay, if I go for the revive, I'm playing into their hands, right? So how do you guys feel like duo should be approaching this kind of shake-up, right?
Oh, I mean, the thing I love about duos now is the clutch potential. In trios, like you mentioned before, if you're a solo, you're going up against 3 people. If you're a solo, you could be going up against 2 people. But now in duos, you're going to be a solo, and you know, there's a bunch of solos running on the late game, and we're going to see a lot of very exciting clutches coming out. I mean, we saw, Anas in the qualifiers. I mean, this guy absolutely popped off as a solo. He got like 70 points by himself. So, you know, those are the moments that I live for. Those solo clutches, you know, you don't need to reveal your teammate. You know, that guy's not important. As long as you have that confidence and you can, you know, go throughout the late game and you have a Spider-Man in your hand, I think you get top 5 pretty easy.
Definitely, and if you can't talk about clutches without talking about Thomas HD. Right?
Yeah.
It's like he's made for this mode for duos to pop off, and the problem is honestly that Tayson just probably won't be eliminated that often, so we're not going to see a Thomas HD pop off. Like the way that I like to look at this usually is the fact that most of the best teams in duos are almost like shadowing each other. You know, they're staying super close to each other. Whoever's leading is acting to be player opening it. He's looking one direction. The player behind him is acting like a shadow, looking exactly the same way. If they tarp, he's going to follow too. So a lot of the times these clutch potentials can happen, but a lot of times just when you see a big spray coming onto that first person, he goes down quickly and it's like, right, Thomas HD, it's your time now, let's go.
I mean, I think it's a good thing that you mentioned the spraying as well. I mean, this meta is very, very tough to play as duos. I mean, we have very high fire rate weapons with the MK7 and the Stinger SMGs. I mean, these guns, if you're in a bush and there's someone looking at you, you are gone within a second. So you got to be very, very careful in these situations. To not, you know, you got to cover your back. You got to be careful. And you know, there's going to be a lot of solo clutches today for sure.
Yeah, and I think like utilization of an armored wall becomes even more important in endgame, right? Like usually if someone in endgame is down to wood, it's like this is the flashing signs, right? It's like this guy has no materials. He does not have much. This is a free elimination. This is free points right here. So once you're down to that wood, like utilizing those armored walls is super efficient to try and keep yourself away from focus from say a height team, from a low ground team, especially if you're on like the dead side of the zone. You can place one on the wall, cover the majority angles and be totally fine. So it's like there are a ton of counters in there when it comes to endgame, but hard to play.
I love that too. Because when you think about it, right? Like if you have none of these armored walls and you're able to like eliminate another duel rather that is not utilized, again, these are so pivotal, right? They can provide this massive window of survivability. And it's always like, do I use it now? Like, is it that time? Or maybe if I just wait this additional minute to make sure I can get this high ground, I can use it to secure something later. And it is that very like high risk, high reward, right? If you burn it too soon, you're going to get sprayed. Or maybe the storm moves away and you just don't get to utilize it at all. But at the same time, if you save it and you're like looking for that perfect opportunity, that opportunity may never present itself. So a lot of that is, we're going to see these like kind of back and forth. It's always this constant mind game that I love to see in Fortnite particularly. And you kind of touch on like the speed, right? Like the TTK, the time to be eliminated, so to speak. I like the speed. TTE, good, there we go.
Come on.
I like I'm trying, man. I'm keeping up. I'm doing my best, all right? I'm so old now. It just happened. The time to be eliminated is so much shorter, right? In the past, we've seen things like you walk around a corner with your pump shotgun out, you do 200, and that's it. The player's gone, right? And that's it. They can't even really like react. Now with this high speed meta, a lot of these players, they're gonna get beamed, but if you react quick enough, you can still catch yourself, right? You can still put up any kind of defenses or move away, hide behind these corners. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on the MK7 and the SMG. You guys talked about it, and I want to kind of dive into this subject. Specifically, let's start with the MK7. Red dot side, right? Brand new to Fortnite, completely changes things up. If you've not played with it, you need to hop into Fortnite and check it out. It's crazy. But one in particular, there's one that's the most deadly, and it's that mythic MK7, Reese.
Yeah, and right now it's in Sanctuary, right? You have to manage to get yourself through the foundation of the rock. He's going to try and rock bottom you, whatever he can do to get you out and to get his self on that. But right now it's Wolfie and Mr. Jaberland. They're simply uncontested. They're going to manage to get the mythic MK7 themselves. Like the fire rate on the I almost want to say the downside of it is the fact that it uses so much ammo, and in this season, the fact that ammo boxes are a lot rarer means that like there's not as much spray potential once you're just holding that thing down, because a lot of the times most players won't have an AR. That's the Stinger SMG comes in the other port.
I mean, I have to be honest. I think I've had that gun maybe twice. All the other times I've gone to the Sanctuary in order to get that MK7. let's not talk about it. I mean, the Rock is kind of ridiculous, and you might see some players go down today to that NPC. I mean, there is a way to do that for those that don't know. If you go up very high and use a Hurricane, then you can eliminate the Rock with fall damage. Such a weird sentence to say. I don't think I've ever would think to say that in my life. Yeah.
Imagine like you look to yourself like 3 years ago and you're like, look, you're going to be talking about eliminating the Rock.
The Rock.
On a broadcast.
Yeah.
3 years time ago.
Every man's dream. But I mean, yeah, those are one of the ways you could do it. But a lot of people, you know, you're going to be very exposed if you're building up there in order to eliminate the Rock from fall damage. So you're going to be exposed to other people. I've seen a lot of people fall damage. It's a bit of a scary spot. Going through to the Stinger SMG that you mentioned, Zeke. I mean, that gun is going to be the primary loadout in almost every single player's. I mean, we've seen a sort of a difference of players' loadouts. We've got aggressive duos using Stinger SMG and MK7 together. We've had a few people try to use the Striker shotgun together with an SMG, but it's easier to just jump to a box with an SMG than to hit someone with a shotgun in the face. So I think we're going to see a lot of SMGs. Endgame is going to be very, very loud.
Let's hope so. That's what I live for. Really quickly, I'm getting word from the old bus driver. They're letting us know that we're going to redo game number 1 because not all of the duos made it in. We're just going to scrub that game. We're going to make sure that everyone can get in. And we'll play 6 matches today, so we won't miss out on any of the action. We have a little bit of time here before we can jump on the battle bus, which just means we get to pick Reason Group's brains, man. They're so good at this. They know how to break this all down. Let's backtrack, right? Let's go back to this list of our qualified players. We have 50 duos competing here in round number 3. This is just qualifier number 1. Now, we've talked about a few these names here, right? We highlighted them. We kind of zero in on them. But let's talk about some of these other names that we haven't necessarily talked about. You've got someone like Scram in Ref's Guard, right? Scram going, let's go there in the intro of the show. He was super hyped. How are you feeling about this duo coming into the competition today?
I mean, they're one of 2 duos who have been playing together since World Cup. They've been together for the longest time. Obviously, they were together in trios for a bit. They ended up splitting up after a while, but now they're back together in duos. You know, honestly, like, the performances so far this season haven't been amazing. You know, I'm not going to lie. They haven't been through the roof. Not a single round 2 qualified of the Cash Cup. So it's like, you know, there hasn't been huge performances from them specifically, but they're doing well in FNCS. They're a super experienced team. So potentially this is their time to shine.
And the 2 teams that I actually want to look at here is Gambit 2 and Putrick and Mustache and Malabuka. Now, these guys both land at Camp Cuddle together, so we're going to see some spicy things going on there. But you got to be a little bit careful because, you know, these are 2 very aggressive duos. They're going to butt heads, but we have seen them sort of split it sometimes as well, though. So I wonder if they're going to try to play aggressively with each other, but more than likely, we'll just see them wait for each other and then rotate away from each other.
Yeah, I think another super important top pick here would be Stormy Wright and Kiriachi. You can see in the middle, second down there. Landing in Logjam Lumberyard. Now, these guys have been contested off spawn the majority of times by, sometimes it's Seti's team who is there with Chafix, who unfortunately hasn't qualified today. Sometimes it's Juriki and iDrop, and these fights go back and forth. But today they have this drop spot all to themselves. So they're looking really strong off spawn. Again, these guys are both FNCS champions, Chapter 2 Season 7 trios alongside Juice at the same time, who obviously Boop just mentioned here. They have super experience when it comes to FNCS. They are super good duos. I remember Kiriachi all the way back in Chapter 2 Season 2 was an absolute top player back there, someone to be feared at the time. And hey, an entire chapter later, same thing's happening.
It always be like that, right? Like, once a terror, always a terror, always a menace to the lobby. It just be like that. Now we've got a little time here to hang around with as we prepare for the battle bus. We're kind of finding our team last support, of course, with Shotwage Unlimited Pay. But until then, you guys got to check this out. We put together this piece called Storm Chasers. It's testing these players' ability to predict where the storm is going to go. And of course, we have to give them points so that one of them can be the winner. Oh yeah, what else? What more do you want? Let's check this out.
Okay. A bit left to Sleepy Sound. Yeah,
on the mountain, like top of Shifty. Like that, yeah.
I'm going like the hill above Shifty, a bit left of that. Yeah, okay, this is my guess here.
On the road above Shifty, yeah, mountain. Like on the road above, like you mentioned.
Да, пиздец, не попадаю. Почему, блядь? Не то есть.
Like you can't pick a central location. A lot of the time, it's not going to be a central location. It's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be shifty. It will be somewhere around shifty. I was thinking log jump. It's going to pull in, and it's going to be somewhere around log jump, in between shifty and log jump.
Nice, fully over.
Oh, that's a good one.
Center?
I got 1 point. Okay, that's good, that's good. Not looking good for the next zone though.
Nice, nice. It's going to go up next, isn't it?
Oh, okay. So now it's a 50-50 if it goes to the right or to the left, but we hope for the left, of course.
That's 2 points, nice.
Yeah.
It goes to the right.
Okay, I would be out anyway.
Okay, so a beat right to the lakes outside. Yeah, there. Yeah, there it's good.
I don't know, feeling a little greasy zone. Yeah, like on the hill right under greasy, like that. Yeah.
Under Greasy, there's like a group of trees under Greasy. Yeah, okay, that's right. That's good.
Right next to Greasy Grove, like the road. Yeah, like right there.
I would say tilted or rocky rails, but I've been showing up last one thinking tilted, so I've been rocky rails. Go on the bridge in between. Yeah, that.
I think you're right. Not close.
А, блядь, почему я против двоих? Что за хуйня вообще, блядь? Хуя себе, блядь. Жестко.
We're not going to be in next turn, are we? Yeah, great. Should have picked Rocky.
There you have it. Their ability to predict the storms, pretty dang good. And of course,
I was
point.
the opposite. All right, okay.
I was trying to be nice about it, Reese. Come on, man.
Look, we're sitting here in the back. We get them all wrong anyway, so that, you know, we're just.
I didn't even try. I was like, you know what? There's no way. I would have already been eliminated. I would have touched on the ground. Already been eliminated. It happens that way. You hate to see it, but it'd be what it be. Fortnite fam, if you're just tuning in and you're like, what's going on here? Shouldn't we be in game number 1? We did begin game number 1, but not everyone was aboard the battle bus. So we're scrapping that game, starting another 6 ahead of us to make sure everyone can get into those games. It's all fair and even, and we're about to get ready to jump in just a few minutes from now. Also, don't forget, Legends Landing. You guys seriously have to go check this out. We had an incredible team come in, create a competitive island for us to hang out in and watch FNCS together. There's, I mean, all kinds of incredible things there. There's a super dope battle bus in the middle with a giant Llamatron. I mean, there's all these games that you can win and compete against each other, clothes to purchase. So many incredible things to check out. So please, just take a couple minutes out of your day. Go check it out. I promise you will not be disappointed. Now, with that being said, we have about a minute before we jump on the bus. And then we begin the competition. Is there anything you guys want to talk about? There's a few things out there like I want to talk about, but you know, I'm kind of curious. I'm just going to throw you right in the fire.
Right.
What do you want to talk about?
Well, I'm not going to go too analytical. I'm just going to say this to the players. The reason why the battle bus didn't go is because you guys didn't thank the bus driver. I saw a statistic on Twitter before. About 30% of players actually thanked the bus driver in Grand Royale. I mean, obviously this guy's not going to do his job well, so you guys need to thank the bus driver. Otherwise, you're just going to get left behind.
I hope you realize I'm going to be laser focused, eyes straight on that feed, seeing who isn't. This time, I think, you know what, we've got the best of the best stats man behind. I think we need to actually see exactly who hasn't thanked the bus driver. Yeah, deduct some points.
Punish them.
Wow. There you go from the analytical minds of Reese Hub and Boop. Make sure you thank the bus driver. They are constantly working day in and day out, chauffeuring 100 players per match times whatever the number of matches are all happening at the same time globally. The least you can do is just give them a little thank you. Just a little, you know, hey, appreciate you. We appreciate what you do. All right, but you guys know what that means. It's time. We got a 2 minutes before we jump in. We got to jump back over. We got 11K, we got Shyweed. They're going to break down what they're excited about as we prepare for the games. And then we kick off the competition. Back over to you.
Thanks so much, Zeke, Reese, and Boop. That was some encyclopedic knowledge bookshelf worth just Baxter. I mean, that's like impressive, first of all, to hold it down like that. And now we're kind of getting into it. The issue I have with him right now is I'm so excited. I don't know how to calm down. In game 1 of 6, and it's not even, off the bus yet.
Yeah, it happens, man. It's been a while. It's been a couple of months, actually. It has been quite a while since we've had games of this level. And so, yeah, I just want to dive right into it. I'll be honest, I didn't know those bus driver statistics. I just don't thank the bus driver. That's his job. What? I'm sorry. I'm that guy. I'm not thanking the bus driver.
I mean, I guess that's why I win more games than you, and that's just how it goes. You got to be polite to make sure you get a delightful win at the end of the day. But puns aside, the game number 1, we talked about the importance a little bit of it right before, the last time we were on Stream 11. Having a good start, how much does that mean to a player's mental? You've scrimmed with some of these players in the past. How does the vibe, kind of change up?
Yeah, look, you want to start how you want to finish. I think the big thing is certain players, very young guys, players who are still maturing, they can allow it to get to them sometimes, right? And you don't want to let that throw off the rhythm. All of these players were just playing not too long ago, right? And so if you have your rhythm, if you're feeling good, you don't want to allow one bad start to off-rail that and really affect your chances of being able to make it to the finals. So first game doesn't go your way, look, you got time to reiterate, think about what went wrong, and go back again in the second.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of different ways to analyze it all. And I like the fact that you bring up rhythm. There's definitely an ebb and flow inside the game. I feel like sometimes I'm just watching music while, these players are running around the entire map. But that first song is almost starting, and there'll be 6 in total to go. What point threshold there is, so many different questions that'll all happen after we see who gets that first victory royale. The end games have kind of been changed to be a little bit longer. We've got Spider-Man's Web Gauntlets as well to make sure mobility is insane for every team if they have them. And then, of course, all the POIs around the map have changed as well. So many brand new things in this FNCS, and the most important is that it's duos. If you haven't watched in a hot minute, if you missed the last season, the Grand Royale Bowl, don't worry, it's game 1, and it's starting right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. FNCS Qualifier 1, round 3. 50 duos, 8 spots, 2 excited casters. Shayo, there is nobody I'd rather spend this moment with than yourself, so I can't wait to get right into it.
Absolutely, likewise, my friend. You can see the entire map has switched up. We have the desert, we got some snow, some grass on the field, but most importantly, new spots, power players. You can see on the right side, Thomas HD, Vino as well on the bottom right, who just won this last round. The best performance that we saw, but the best drop that Thomas on the top that is flying to is Cobra Cavern. Guaranteed launch pads, but also 3 Titan duos who are fighting. Only one will make it out alive.
Yeah, since the spot's been added, lots and lots of action has gone down here. It plays a big part in how the games will continue to play. And you see instantly Thomas and Tayson with the better landings, forcing Joe and Vino to scurry away. But that's not it, right? There are still plenty of players in Cobra, and there's still plenty of loot to be had. So while these guys had the upper hand just for now, things can quickly change. And so it's going to be about getting that loot as quickly as possible, getting yourself a loadout, and getting ready to really just go down and fight it up.
Yeah, a lot of duos, a lot of players were on go before set and ready, though, right before this all started already. 5 duos down, Blazing with a few eliminations in the feed. Vino and Joe actually wrap all the way around and actually end up somewhere else beside Cobra Cavern. Thomas HD and Tayson will have the majority of the loot to rock with at the very start. I like Thomas on any team, by the way. A new duo, you see playing last year in matchups. He changes everyone's dynamic to always be the first step. He's always there before and making the first move before his opponents. That's why I feel like he's so powerful and why he likes that sniper rifle so much as well.
Yeah, it's been a long time in terms of Tayson in this duo, right, where he's had to sort of lead someone with him, and who better to lead than Thomas, right? You give this guy an inch and he will take a mile, and so the vault also available to them, right? Even if you aren't the team actually at Cobra that initially gets the key card and opens the vault, there's so much loot in there that duos will just roll in afterwards, and it's going to be, really, really easy for you to find yourself a cheeky amount of shields and loot as well. So really, really nice so far. Pink actually going to get the redo, but he's going to try to get away.
And did you see that? That's insane. That's a new mechanic. I'll explain in just a second. But Pink almost getting an awesome. Thomas HD did not have a line of sight on Pink right there. He shot a tree behind him. Some trees actually fall down like logs and end up doing damage, facing enemies. And because of this awesome lumberjack type action, Pink has now gone into a completely different game. He was about to be with a teammate up, ready to loot again. One chop of a tree, one block, and now he's just gone.
Yeah, and I'll be real to you, Pink. It's not great. If you want to be able to call the spot Pink today, you've got to really be able to put in the work there. He takes down Flazy there, which is obviously going to be nice, but wasn't able to get his teammate and Nas up. There will still be time to do that in this lobby, but initially here, Pink and Nas not getting off to the brightest of starts.
Thomas and Taysom, though, they're looking really good, just racking up all the shows possible as well. Chuck Splashes, if you guys have been keeping up with the content that competitive has been putting out, you will know that splashes have kind of spread around the entire map now. It's not just Slurpee and a few set POIs that have them. It's majority of the map now that can kind of benefit from the free metal, from the free shield as well. And as a result, every player has a lot more minis to work with, and they need the extra boost. A lot of the time, Levin, if you're watching round 2, these games end up with 40 alive in like the second last zone still. Like it's going crazy. No one wants to go down. It seems like people are fighting for their life. And it's just the problem.
People understand what's on the line, right? An opportunity to play in that final is huge, and so they go through those games tough. You know, some players might even find that these games are a bit easier than those, if anything, with just how intense those got. So look, we'll see how these games sort of stack up in terms of players left alive as we get to those later zones. But yeah, round 2 was really, really difficult.
Yeah, let's specify the line though. What do these players need to do? What are they shooting for to make the finals?
Honestly, right, in terms of getting that top 8, you want to make sure that you're consistent across these next 6 games, right? You know, we've talked about certain teams being very aggressive, certain teams maybe not being able to get as many eliminations as they'd like. Ultimately, it comes down to who's going to make these end games, who's going to rack up them points when it matters. And there's no easy task. There's many different routes and paths you can take towards doing that. But that's where you want to be. You want to be in those end games, getting to 5th zone and beyond. And so, Floki Clement, a team that's on our screen here, a duo that's actually, you know, played with each other last season throughout trios, has a lot of chemistry. They're definitely a team out of chonkers who you'd expect to be able to make it to those phases of the game.
Yeah, I feel like Clement and Floki specifically are finally 3 now, all the way on Chonk. Before, it seems like they were trapped by so many people around them, forced to do things like Lechie is right now. He's in an all-in situation, going down, unfortunate. But, you know, it just seems like a lot of teams are now in a different spot entirely. They get to play their games out with a few
Yeah, Gogos and Eclipse will take out Lechie and Swilliam. That is not ideal. Lechie, one of the fan favorites, you'd say, in the competitive community around Europe, but off to a mediocre start right now out of Chonkers. It's going to be difficult, right? You know, Boot in the pre-show talked about how some of these POIs you don't necessarily have to fight, and that's true, right? If everybody has that mutual understanding, but as soon as somebody steps in the toe, you know, you got to respond, you got to retaliate, and unfortunately, Lechie wasn't able to there, so they will be back to the lobby. Cammy, Seti, and Teak, this is really interesting. Of course, they have access to a Whiplash vehicle from their spot, and the reason why it's so great is because you can see how they're just able to traverse so much land in such quick time, get all the way across the map if necessary. Of course, the Whiplash allows you to boost as well if you need to really go the distance. This is just, you know, basic competitive Fortnite mechanics. You can see he's picking up the fireflies, right, to, you know, hit the trees, make sure that they burn down. It means just more lines of sight, more vision, more opportunities to get yourself some surge tags. Just basic fundamentals there, but if you're at home and you're trying to get a bit better, something to pick up on.
Absolutely. Now we'll see a little bit of aggression coming through. Tooth on the back foot. Fusak actually pushing up, but this is the danger of trying to engage from a fight from such a long range. A third party from the right side actually makes their entire push just turn into a vortex of shots. Now Future continues to have a little bit of that high ground. Can't turn around, middle of a match, just hold them down. This is just unfortunate. Already burning through those splashes. It seems like a little bit of an all-in already. The loadout from Tisa not looking good here on the top right. Pudrik is looking high and mighty though. He's fine, just waiting this out.
Yeah, this is one of them situations where Tisa and Pudrik do have the advantage at the half. They can put the pressure on. It's going to be really hard for Resac and Tisa to actually put on a contest here. But they're going to play the waiting game. And they have time. They're in zone. No need to rush. No need to make any rash decisions. But it's going to be difficult here. Of course, you can see Putrik Zeus going to continue to farm it up. He's not got a full load on set. They need to get some experience as well. Putrik struggling in that department, but in the meantime, they've got to worry about the players below them.
This is not the worst spot to just kind of base up and chill for a moment. Shit on both sides, just making sure each team can stay alive in this building, and a good vantage point for Puchik more than most. Right now with Anakin 7, he can just look out at anyone he really wants to, take a few tags here and there, and he would pick up the defeat as well. So fights are still breaking down across the map, but this is where things start to might get a little bit slower overall. You want to make sure you're not making too many mistakes. You're talking about that loot level. I don't think Puchik can afford to take trades right now. You just need to land shots and be careful, because that shield amount is not that high. If that goes lower, the mat count is not that high either. There's not much left to farm until they actually get into an engagement down below. They're kind of stuck. It doesn't look like it, in a pretty tough spot.
Yeah, at this stage in the game, you know, you really want to be on much higher amounts of materials than 17 builds, which is what Puchik's on. So, you know, I wouldn't say you start hitting the panic button, but they have to start thinking of a plan. How are they going to get their material count up? Because if you get to endgame, that's all going well, but you can't get there with some good resources. You know, it's going to be a dire situation. You can see here, the zone pulling towards the south. Rocky Reels just in, Greasy Grove just in. And all those players north going to start making their way down. You know, O'Reilly and Aqua, one of those teams that will have to make that rotation at some point. You can see them starting to make their way on now.
Yeah, this is like the part where I love watching Aqua the most. Whenever the zone goes into this little crunch style, right? Actually going a little bit more central, not going towards one of the biggest sides of the hemisphere of the zone. You don't have to go right or left. Everyone just needs to move in. Aqua ends up getting some crazy positions. It's from that point where sometimes, you know, Levany makes that call. Let's just, you know, go height. Let's just forget everything and try to go for a main objective, no matter how risky it is. Before that, though, this is where I think he's the most cerebral. Him and Noah Riley are going to be moving in ways no other team really can. I'm curious to see exactly where they choose to set up and why they do. With 75 players still alive, more importantly, 38 teams, it's going to be pretty tight in terms of where they can actually, you know, just make a castle.
And you can see they're not white lining the zone, right? They are going, you know, further south towards the southeast, and you know, that's a conscious effort to actually go out there and make sure they have good positioning away from a lot of the players in the lobby. You can see here some fights going on in the zone. This is the stuff that gets rough, guys. You know, it's not easy going for everybody in the lobby. You can find yourself in those sticky situations outside of the safe zone, and you saw right there what can happen. It doesn't work out well a lot of the time.
This team talked about a little bit as well. Mustache and Malabuka, who, yeah, I kind of agree with Reese's take in terms of one of the most impressive teams that we've seen this entire season. If you look at Cash Cup placements, if you just look at the synergy these guys are rocking in with, it seems like every Cash Cup has a little bit of a different theme. Sometimes it's a little bit more Elam heavy. Sometimes the zones are kind of strange for everyone. No matter what the problem is, though, Mustache, Malabuka, they're there to adapt, and they look really good. Pink and Anasto, in this instance, still stuck all the way in covert. Joe and Vino, it seems like everyone that's been pressured by Thomas and Tayson is left behind in the storm or having trouble bringing their way back into the game.
Yeah, it's funny. We talk about how Covert has so much loot that, you know, you can come back at any point and find something, but, you know, we're starting to get a bit extreme here. Of course, you know, these guys will have a long way to go in terms of getting out, but there are vehicles available, and we'll expect them to start making those moves now. Pink and Anas, Joe and Vino, both two great teams, right? Two very interesting teams. Joe and Vino actually won round 2. That was just before this, so they'll be looking to try and, you know, match that momentum, keep that pace up. It's a bit of a rocky start. We saw off spawn, they got out-dropped by Tayson and Thomas, which isn't great ever. But unlike most people that go up against Tayson and Thomas, they were able to get out of it alive.
And you'll notice, too, if you're watching a bunch of these teams in Storm, there's a hissy noise. Your headset's not broken. Your speakers are fine. It's MedMist, which is a new addition to the season. It helps a lot of teams who like to have that little bit of zone play, especially in the early game, able to do that and then move that much more as well. It makes your scouting a lot better unless you get these items, do the strats that Levin's talking about, especially in the end game as well. You can stay active, follow your teammate, which is one of the most important things, especially in duos. You get lost, it's not like you have an extra support you need to kind of latch onto. You have to really stick side by side with your team. You can't get in that zone at full speed in this. So it's a huge addition. Joe will choose to use it at the start just to bolster up, as Levin mentioned, an unfortunate drop that got beat by Tayson and Thomas. And then now they're looking good inside the zone.
Well, we've seen the effects of having that scuffed early game, right? You know, of course they are above on Surge, which is, you know, great positive, but you look at the loot, you look at the materials, in terms of a pathway to winning out this game, things get really difficult, right? This isn't going to be the easiest of journeys for them. At every stage in the game, they're going to be thinking, okay, how can we win this game with what we've got? And if they're looking at that right now, there ain't many avenues, so where they go to farm. Of course, you can see some brick here that they will definitely take at any opportunity, but plenty more still to be done. Of course, they've got teams ahead of them in the zone trying to hold them back as well.
And imagine if like players could see the map that people have, like, especially with your son. If people knew how many matches Vino had right now, they would not be allowed. Too short to go on the ride for this moment. No rally Aqua. Look at this, bro. We blinked for what? A minute and a half? And they're at a god spot that shouldn't be this. Like, is this allowed? You have to have like a handicap. I mean, when Aqua plays to play, doesn't matter the board he's on, doesn't matter what's going down.
Блядь.
Insane. No rally on a different side. This man's an expert fighter. They're just letting this other team simmer. Just absolutely swelter in the heat. And now it's Scram who's in trouble. Ref's guard below him. Aqua finally safe. And Noah Riley's about to go on the attack.
Yeah, Aqua did a good job there to just hold them off. He knows that those are two players that don't have many options in terms of time. And so Ref's guard and Scram will go down. It's a shame to see them fall. One of the longest standing duos we see in this lobby. They literally played the last two FNCS with each other, which was years ago now. So they go down in this first game, but Noah Riley and Aqua doing a really good job there. Teams often overplay those situations, right? You know, a team around you, you know, is fighting for Surgeon. You give them what they want. You give them the fight. These guys did brilliantly there just to hold them off, let the time tick down. And now, on their journey to winning this first game, things are looking pretty good. Matt's looking good. Surge dealt with. Spider-Man Mythic in hand as well, which we know how good these can be when it comes to those moving zones.
Absolutely. 10 charges on those two. Let's take a look at one of the storm fights, or storm surge fights, excuse me, that were happening. This is a specific one we just watched. Scram, so much inventory stuff. Everything, unfortunately. Yeah, she's going in as well with Pixie. Unfortunate here too. It just seems like they're so close to having a little bit of an end at the end of the day, but it's just not possible. And that'll happen to so many teams around. This is insane though. Two big predictions, two big teams that everyone wants to be doing well. Cammy and Teak head to head with Hen and Queasy left. I do not want these guys to fight this early.
Yeah, this is not a fight a lot of people want to see so early on. Two of the strongest teams in this lobby, if we're being real, right? If you're looking at just the who's coming into this with the biggest hearsay, these two are the teams that you would say.
Yeah, and if we're looking at the Jenga tower structure of this game right now, they're under pressure. Joe and Vino, who we saw before, who are also under pressure, go down. So the first place team from the last round is not going to be around for this first game.
Yeah, we got to be careful. Cammy and T going down. Heart rate for both, isn't it?
Not only that, I mean, it kind of changes the way the whole lobby works. People can't be there to watch any of these first places.
Да пиздец, что такое-то, блядь?
Right? This man owns, like, he claims the space that he's on, right? He's a very active force, a loud man on the low ground. And, you know, if he's not around, that'll give a lot more room. If he is though, level, that's where things get brutal.
Yeah, these guys are great, right? Cammy probably been the best player so far in this new chapter in terms of just solo and duo performances. As you can see here, is Andy definitely looking good, right? Of course, again, got that Spider-Man Mythic like we talked about. And they've already gotten 6 eliminations in this game. Most points of anybody else in the lobby, so already some teams coming in with a hot hand, ready to take on anybody. They don't care that the lobby's filled with phenomenal players. They just want to come in and get some points.
It's not only them, you know, looking hot with the feelings. They look hot in general. Look at the left-hand POV real quick. Something I want to update you with. Those numbers usually mean nothing. They're just like, you know, what the team came in with and might be a team tag for them. This is now a specific live leaderboard type thing you can see. Those glowing lights from the sky, the number one besides the Andy and Z-Cloud right now are showing you that they're the first place team so far in the lobby. Not every other team can see that. It's just for our POV. It's just for everyone back home that's watching. That is why. That's why they're so far ahead. Everyone around them, they're in a place, their number beside their name will also be changing as the game goes down. So you have a little bit more perspective. You don't have to do math. There's no more homework while you watch the game. We can kind of just see exactly what the stakes are and how the game actually is rolling out.
Sounds to me like Shire ain't a fan of homework.
I'm not, man. Hey, do your homework, first of all. But you can do stuff you're not a fan of, right? You want to, sometimes you gotta, you know, get it done. Right now, Andy, I don't think he's a fan of this situation. He's gonna be in first for just a little bit. Might not be too long. Zeke already down. This is tough.
Yeah, his teammate goes down and that leaves him all alone. And look, we've seen solo clutches so far in the season in Cash a lot, but this kind of lobby from this zone onwards, from fourth being a solo, it's not going to be easy. He's got the resources to make it work to some degree, but he would rather be in this kind of position here. Janice and Vortex just 2 below, and they'll be able to sort that out with some ease. 100 above now.
I'm going to bring back a word that you mentioned up 11 at the very start of this. It's called adaptation. I feel like this duo right here, it absolutely envelops that entire aspect. At the very start of the season, they were the best, I feel like, out of the gate with their job, with the way they played, how they meshed well in terms of just looking at the duo type of scene in general. And now it feels like even with this spot, they adapted to this lobby absolutely.
Yeah, this is brilliant. They pull zone, and of course they are just tinkering along that line of being above and below thirds, but you can see Vortex and Janice very capable players, especially when it comes to their ability to aim. The MK rifle as well will be put to good use, and from this position in full zone, it's looking really good setting up this end game.
Да пиздец, ну что за такое-то? Расслабился это.
It's tough overall, though, for a lot of teams. You're going to be thinking about what to do next from this standpoint. Even though you do have the zone, this is rocky reels. This is one of the more difficult sections of endgame when it comes to the map. Lots of mountains randomly getting into the way. It's not going to be the extremest cliffs you see around the entire Fortnite island, but you won't expect obstacles coming straight out into your way. There's a lot more open sight lines, so there's more opportunities for Janice. Just being an absolute beambot right now. This is crazy. Reason down to just a sliver of HP. That was Vortex that was shooting there for just a second. My apologies, but you know, you look at either one of these players live and they're just online.
And that's brilliant, right? Exactly, knowing that they have the power position, players are having to rotate into them and using that height advantage to perfection. Brilliant, brilliant stuff there from Vortex and Janice, and that's going to continue on throughout the rest of this one. Andy, though, right? We talked about the tough task he has in his hands. 5 charges left in that Spider-Man mythic. Should be enough to get him through first move, and if he uses it right. But he's just got to stay alive. He's got to make sure nobody figures out that he is a solo. Because once they do, I'm telling you, they won't let him live for much, much longer. He's just fighting. He's just, peeking around, making sure he has the information. I'm not trying to be too overzealous, not trying to make himself too big of a target.
He's got max pull now, though, and you saw that big overhead look on the left side just before. There's a no-man lane he needs to get through. There's an entire slew of, 20 different duos that are going to be right in front of him, and in high ground that's going to be looking down. And that Janice and Vortex, so don't let anyone move around whatsoever for free. To give you a kind of lowdown on who is just popping off for the moment, Tayson just got a big elimination onto Gogo, it seemed like right before, who actually eliminated Fast Roki. So there's a big power dynamic over there, and he's now on the move on the top side. He's going to get pressure all the way back in the storm, has the Spider-Man gauntlets to use, actually has a rough landing, and then gets beamed down. Unfortunately, that's where that first place run ends.
Yeah, we knew that was going to be tough, rotating inwards, even with the Spider-Man players taking advantage of the fact that, he's in the air, he's vulnerable. And as we switch on over here to Tayson and Thomas, this is what I like to see from them. Oh, I spoke too soon. Thomas will fall straight through, take some full damage, but he will be able to rekindle with Tayson. 8 below isn't great, but that should be fine as they move on over to that first move-in zone. They've made their way through. They found some good positioning as well. Tayson just tarping ahead. We talked about how he will lead and Thomas will follow. But now it's going to be time to look for a refresh. Their mats are dwindling, and you can see them going towards the back of their tarp, looking for opportunities in the zone right before the second move and starts to pull.
Snake of a tarp, the fangs at both ends. The first edit tries to find a little bit of damage. Looks like Tayson might have seen a little bit of something. The flash though goes down. 2 duels on the right side. A stair in the way, but they won't be able to find. No damage there. It's just unfortunate. It looks like the deal ends up stealing that elevation. They keep rolling back. Got a little bit of total damage though. 91 as they actually move up in layers. Tayson's going straight for the sky. How high are they planning on moving with this one? Rightful down in the feed. The deal picking up another. Janice is still active with Bubak going down. Every big name is here to play.
Saw how proactive Tayson was there, making sure as soon as the zone started to move, he was ahead of it. And this is why they want to position them in the front side, cut off any teams and get refreshes just like that. They will take Lazen down, and that's not going to be it for them. They're looking for more. They get that loot, and the mats are going to be really, really beneficial for them. So many players going down those Shio. It's absolutely hectic, but these guys are trying to find a sprinkle of control.
While they go into the chaos, Thomas now down to 1 HP. It's all up to Tayson, who actually got out of the way before the horror show started back in open those boxes. It's going to be just him with 300 wood available and a little bit of brick too. The target's going to be a little bit dangerous.
You have seen my return and witnessed this reality burn. There's just one thing you should know. Don't you wish you knew the mystery? You're just a player in my show. So was just part of the play I made for you. Isn't it horrible? My prize is in sight, you continue to fight. You're a dog.